Okay, so the fly I'm going to be tying is a summer nymph, a fly that I caught a few fish on the other day. I took it off the web from one of the European tires, and it's actually a pretty cool little nymph. I am going to modify it just a hair, but not much. The materials he used are actually pretty cool. So, anyway, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie on a little bit of a shuck, and I'm going to snip off a little piece of amber Antron, which is my trusty standby. He calls for coq de leon feathers on his original pattern. Um, I'm just one of those guys that the amber Z-Lon tends to be, my standby for any time I'm tying a shuck on a fly. You'll notice that I started my thread at the back of the hook, and the reason for this is on the original pattern. He does like he wants to keep a very thin profile on the fly. Number one, okay, and he wants to basically use the actual natural shine of the hook to actually show through. So I'm going to take this shuck and I'm just going to clip it off, maybe a hook length, maybe a little bit shorter than the hook length, um, and uh, and then I'm going to tie on my body material. Actually, I'll tell you what. Sorry about that. I'm gonna tie on my rib next. My rib is basically a monofilament. You can use tippet if you want to. I've got this monofilament on a spool, and I'm gonna tie that in right here on the back of the hook as well. I want to keep everything focused right there on the back of the hook because like I said, the idea is that I'm going to use the natural shine of the hook when I actually come up to show through my body material. Um, okay, then I'm going to take my body material. This is basically thin skin. Comes on a sheet just like that. I'm using like a salmon pink color. This is the it's a plastic, if you will, and this is going to be my body. Now I'm just going to come and skip my thread right up along the hook. Okay, I'm going to tie in a little whip finish right here, just so that since I don't have my thread bound on the hook real tight, I made a bunch of gaps coming up there. I don't want it to slide on me. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and I'm going to begin to wrap, my body. Okay, straight up the hook. Okay. And this is, like I said, this is a plastic body. I'm going to keep the profile of the fly thin. Okay, coming straight up the hook. Okay, once I get, we'll say, up far enough, I'm going to come back over a little bit, and you can actually pull this stuff pretty tight. Okay, and then come forward again, and then I'm going to tie off right there. Oops. I'm kind of using a neutral colored thread here too, just simply because I don't want to put too much color underneath there. Okay, I got my thread tied off. Now I'm gonna take and I'm just gonna kind of wrap that on there and get that out of the way. Okay, on the front of the hook. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap my rib forward. Okay, so I'm gonna take my spool. I'm gonna wind it kind of back up and get the thread to where I can work with it. If you're just using tippet and you've just and you can just wind it forward, obviously go ahead and do that. I'm going to take and I'm going to first grab the back end. There we go. And I'm going to start working my way straight up the hook. Just going to put a transparent rib, but it will actually kind of put some indentations on the body itself, and kind of give it a lifelike form. Okay, this case right here, I'm going to just take and I'll put a little half hitch on there just to hold that in place. Okay, I'm done with that. I'm done with the rib at that point in time. I'll clip that off. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work back over that portion of the fly and get back to where I can tie on some of the components of my thorax and so on and so forth. Maybe about halfway, body halfway. Okay, then what I'm going to take is I'm going to take a piece of Darlon. Okay, this is similar to Z-Lon. This is a little bit softer material. Doesn't matter. You can use the Z-Lon if you want. I just happen to have this, and it's actually a peach color, so I'm keeping with the theme of my salmon colored fly. Okay, I'm going to tie that in right on the top of the hook. Okay, and I'll snip. Ouch. Just jab my bodkin through the palm of my hand. Okay. So now I've actually got a little. I'm going to create like a little wing bud, if you want to call it that. It's actually a bubble because I'm actually going to put some additional materials on here that simulate wing buds. In this case, there we go. Just a little bit of a bubble is all I want right there. Okay, and I believe it or not, I think that acts as a little bit of an attractor when I'm actually fishing this fly. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tie on a couple of wing buds. Okay, this material is Swiss straw, or raffia is what they call it. Okay, and comes in a big spool. Okay, and it kind of looks like that. And what you do with this stuff is you actually take and spread it apart, cut off a little section, that is going to be, my section right here was about an 1/8 inch wide. Yeah, and then I twist it in the middle and start to pull forward. Okay. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these wing buds and I'm going to pull them down, and I'm going to pull them down to the side of the hook. Okay, and it's going to represent caddis wings, okay, that are actually forming. Okay, and I'm going to take and pull those underneath the hook. Okay, and I'm going to clip them off fairly short. Okay, right there. Okay, so now I've got two wing buds matching the color of the fly, still with the pinkish color, the salmon color. And I don't know why he tied this in that particular color. It seems to work though. This is the same color I fished the other day. Next, I'm going to tie on some legs. I'm basically going to tie on some legs with hen hackle or hen back. Okay. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take and I'm going to make something like that with one of the feathers, and then I'm going to cut the tip out. Okay. Okay. So that ultimately I end up with something that looks like this. Okay. I end up with basically a feather that has a little V in it, and then I'm going to place that V on the hook. One of the things I want to do, and I didn't think about this a second ago, is I want to actually take and wind that piece of thin skin back to where my wing buds are formed. Okay, this is actually going to form a wing case now that goes over the front of the fly. Okay, and then I'll go ahead with my hand hackle and put that in over top. I'm going to take and I'm going to place the V right in about the middle of the thorax, and I'm going to wrap over. And what I should end up with is some legs that that kind of we'll say form the side of the body. I want those legs to be down underneath. I'm going to try that again. Okay, I want the legs to be down underneath as much as I possibly can get them to. Okay, so I want to take and here, we'll force them down somehow. Okay, but I want to get those legs down underneath. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie in another material. This is actually called Super Floss. It's a stretch type material. Okay, it's this is a tannish color. Okay, this is a little bit different than what he calls for. He calls for bugskin up here again at the top of the fly. I'm actually going to use this Super Floss. I like that material for this section a little bit better. It gives me a little bit more of a contrast. Okay, and I'm just going to wind that forward, okay, as part of my thorax, okay, and it gives me a little bit darker color up on the front of the fly, okay, and it's going to kind of set off what I'm going to do with my CDC next. Okay, so next I'm going to take basically some CDC feathers. Okay, here's what I've got. It's natural tan. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did with the hen hackle. I'm going to take and I'm going to basically cut a little V in the front of that. Then I'm going to place that V, the stem almost right over top of the eye of the hook. Okay, and I'm going to wrap that on. Okay, what that does is it basically gives my fly a little bit of life. Okay, that's what I'm looking for out of the CDC. Okay, it's going to give my fly life. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to pull that thorax cover over the front. Okay, and I'm going to tie off. Okay, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of a half hitch here right now. Okay, clean it up a little bit. I've got a few wild hairs there. Okay, and since that's actual brown, you know, in there that is on the or not brown, since that's actually we'll say a pinkish color on the back of that thorax, what I want to do is I want to take and I want to pull all the stuff on top down, okay, and then I want to come in and I want to color that with a Sharpie marker, okay, and just make that thorax a little bit darker, okay. If you want, you can actually put a little bit of head cement on, or you can take and put a little bit of bug bond on at this point in time just to coat that a little bit. I'm going to kind of leave it as is at this point in time, okay, and I'm going to tie on the last little bit and finish off this fly. Okay, in this case I'm going to tie on a couple of little if you want to call them horns. Okay, I'm going to try and tie those down the side. Believe me, this is getting a little bit hard to see in here when you're tying on little small amounts of material like this. Okay, and I'm going to take and tie on a second horn over here. Okay, so where I've actually got a couple of little antennas coming off the front of my fly. Okay, and then I'm going to take and whip finish off at the end. Okay, I can put a little head cement on there if I want to. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I give that top a little bit of color. I want to make sure my head's dark. Okay, with that marker again, if you color that thread, it'll hold that color. Okay, and there's what I have. I have my summer nymph. Good fish catcher. This is actually a bigger fly that I feel comfortable fishing. Okay, if you take that Z-Lon and just give it a little bit of your thumbnail or something like that, it'll actually give it a little bit of a, you know, a more of a shucky look. Okay, but there you go. There's your summer nymph. Okay, pattern. Good fish catcher. Good fish catcher.